Hello, Eagles fans. Welcome to the Sports Porch. We are bringing you some breaking news. The Eagles are bringing in Vic Fangio to sign his contract today as the new defensive coordinator of your Philadelphia Eagles. But first, I also want to talk about the debacle of a press conference that we all saw yesterday. So, first, welcome to the Sports Porch, Philadelphia. We appreciate you tuning in and giving us a listen. Feel free, you can always leave us comments and we will respond to them, possibly on a future podcast. And we are launching big our YouTube channel now. We had done a lot on Facebook Live, and now we are moving to YouTube. We are moving up. All right, so let's talk about this debacle of a press conference yesterday. So, look, um, look, I am not extremely anti Nick Sirianni. The guy's done some really good things. 3 trips to the playoffs, a Super Bowl berth. Probably should have won it, but we didn't. You can't knock his overall body of work, but at the same time, you have to be extremely concerned with what happened, at the end of the season, going 1-6 at the end of the season. And at times it looked like the team quit. At times it looked like the quarterback was not on the same page as Nick Sirianni, as the offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson, as, you know, um, you know, it was just they were completely out of sync. And on defense, they had no answers. The move to Matt Patricia was a terrible one. At the time, I remember thinking, how could it possibly get any worse? Well, I'll tell you what, it got a lot worse. Players were confused. They had to learn a new different system. You got Hassan Reddick, your best pass rusher, one of the best in the league. You were putting him out into coverage 7 to 10 times a game. I mean, you're not even utilizing your best player the right way. I mean, it was just a disaster. And my big question is, so why didn't Nick Sirianni step in and make changes, whether they were changes that the coordinators were going to employ, or whether he maybe should have taken over play calling duties. Now we all know that he wasn't a great play caller, and once he turned it over to Shane Steichen in his first year, and then the year they went to the Super Bowl, they were fantastic. So yeah, Shane Steichen's a great play caller. Nick Sirianni, we don't know, but it was a small sample size. So let me take that information and then get to the press conference. So both coordinators, the OC and the DC, Matt Patricia / Sean Desai and Brian Johnson, are fired. They're gone. Okay, I've got no problem with that. They were both pretty bad, or all three of them were pretty bad. However, so they're talking and they're saying that we're going to bring in a defensive coordinator who's going to run the defense. Now that's kind of normal, because usually if you have an offensive coach, that's what they're going to do. And you're going to bring in an offensive coordinator who's going to have complete control of the offense, of play calling. So on one hand, by saying that, it makes a desirable job. I mean, hey, I'd like to go to an offense that has AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and a great offensive line and Jalen Hurts, and hey, they're going to make me look pretty good. I could fast track away to being a head coaching candidate. So in that respect, it's an appealing position. But my big question comes down to, so what is it that Nick Sirianni does? And he was asked this question at the press conference yesterday, and I just thought his answer was horrible. I mean, his answer was basically, I'm the head coach of all, 3 phases of the football team, and so maybe I'll sit in on some defensive meetings, whereas last year I sat in mostly on offensive meetings. And it's all about the culture, and setting a good culture, and it's all about the core values. All right, the culture to me had been excellent for about 2.5 years, but Are you telling me the culture of this team was good down the stretch? I don't think so. I mean, everybody seemed to not know what the heck they were doing. And to me, I felt didn't really have a belief in the coaches. And if that falls upon Nick Sirianni, well, that was a big fail. Um, if we're talking about the core values, like, okay, I mean, great. It's good to have core values. It's good to communicate. One of his big things is it's all about communication. It's all about connecting. Well, seems like communication, you can have communication, but if the results don't come on the field, what good is it? I mean, every week the players were saying, "Oh, you'll see, we'll get out there, you'll see, it's 0-0 now. We're in the playoffs, and we can everything we want's in front of us." Hey, great, but when you go out and you play like garbage time and time again, well, what good did communication do? They spent the last 3 weeks of the season unable to prepare for a blitz. Okay, unable to prepare for a blitz. Take a look at Andy Reid over with Kansas City Chiefs. He knows he doesn't have receivers, and he knows he has to depend on the run game. So what does he do? He runs some three tight end sets or two tight end sets. Are the Eagles doing anything like that? Are we adjusting to what's coming? No. We're throwing we have receivers running deep ball patterns. They have their back to the quarterback when they need to be running short crossing routes to beat the blitz, for a hot read. We're not doing that. Why are we not doing that? Now, if the offensive coordinator is not planning for that, well, hey, it's your job as head coach to step in and say, hey, we need to do this, right? So my question is, what is it that Nick Sirianni is actually good at? Now, look, I'm not trying to be demeaning. Maybe he is good at certain things. He's just really not good at communicating them. See, communication, right? We all remember his first press conference, which was just, oh my gosh, we all thought, my God, who did they hire? And he's gotten better at press conferences, but this was kind of similar to the first one. We were all just like, my God, they had like 9 days to prepare for this, and this is what they came out with. It was just really discouraging, and it was really disappointing. Um, but we'll see. I mean, look, on the flip side here, let's take a little positive lens. Your Philadelphia Eagles have made two Super Bowls in the last 6 years and have won one. Okay, not a lot of teams can say that. And twice they came from really bad records to rebuild the team within 2 years to get back to the Super Bowl. So, we know that Howie Roseman can do well, and can put together a good product on the field. Now, does he have an issue? Yeah, they don't value the linebacker position. They don't value the safety position. I'd put $1 million down that we're going to draft an offensive or a defensive lineman in the first round when there's probably going to be the best linebacker or safety available to us. But look, hopefully they do some self-evaluation, some self-scouting, and they realize that those positions are important. Look at the teams that are in the playoffs right now that are still playing. Baltimore, you got Patrick Quinn and you got Roquan Smith, you got Greenlaw and Warren. Get blanking on his name, but Fred Warner, the great running backs in linebackers in San Francisco. So, hopefully it's a copycat league, and he will begin to see the value of linebacker, the value of safety, like a Kyle Hamilton. We drafted Jordan Davis over Kyle Hamilton. And Jordan Davis may turn out to be okay, but he hit a rookie wall year one and year two. He was good in the first half and hit a rookie wall again. That's not good, right? I know they've been fining him for his eating habits. So anyway, let's go to the piece of breaking news, which is today. Vic Fangio is on his way to the NovaCare complex to sign a contract to become the next defensive coordinator of your Philadelphia Eagles. So how do I feel about it? Well, on a grading scale of, let's say, A, B, C, D, E, F, I'll give it a B. All right. So I would say I'm pleased with the hiring, but I'm also a little skeptical. Now, the good things are Vic Fangio, well respected DC in this league. He's basically created his own defense. It's known as the Vic Fangio defense. So, other disciples have tried to employ it, some better than others, but it's good to have the architect. It's good to have the creator of it right there with us. That being said, I don't love the defense. It's a bend don't break defense. It's the kind of defense where you play your cornerbacks 10 feet, 10 yards off the ball. I hate that. I hate it. Will he come up with more complex blitz schemes or just rushing the passer schemes with some stunts and things like that? Yeah. So that's good. And he knows the linebacker position. He's had good linebackers. So I feel like hopefully with some of his influence, he can get some good players on this team at positions of need to help him field a really good defense. To give you an idea, just as a background, he was the Bears defensive coordinator, took them from 30th in defense in the league to 10th in defense. He then moved on to San Francisco, where in 2011, he had that defense leading the league with 35 turnovers. Look, they weren't great last year in Miami, and they had some pretty good players. They were better than the Eagles, but they had some pretty good players. So who knows? I mean, there was a whole to do about that. He wanted to be in Philadelphia last year. Jonathan Gannon, the snake oil salesman guy, fed the Eagles a line of BS saying that he was going to stay. Runs out on them, the day after the Super Bowl, and Vic Fangio had already signed with Miami. So the Eagles and Vic Fangio were irritated about that. And it's interesting how this happened, that all of a sudden Nick Fangio is available and he's coming back, to the Eagles to be closer to family and closer to home. That's where he always wanted to be. Interestingly, they do have a few free agents on that Miami Dolphins team. Christian Wilkins, the really good defensive lineman. Andrew Van Ginkel is a guy to look out for. Linebacker, had 6 sacks last year, an interception, 8 passes defended. If they've got a good relationship, I could see him maybe as a free agent target. I've also heard a little rumblings about maybe Jair Alexander, maybe as a cornerback to replace Bradbury, who has to go. Obviously, I still like Big Play Slay. He really played at a high level last year. He just got injured during that bad stretch. But yeah, if we could land him, that could shore up the corner situation. So, okay, Vic Fangio, I'm going to give you a B, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that you will fix the defense. I certainly feel better about the defense today than I did yesterday with the hiring of Vic Fangio. As far as the press conference, I'm going to give it a D. It was pretty bad. I mean, when you can't really come up with anything besides, I manage the culture and the core values of the team. When asked about what is it that you do as head coach, and you had 9 days to prepare for that, I'm giving you a D, and that's like a nice grade there. I could give you an F. I'm giving you a D because you took us to a Super Bowl berth. Okay, I'm just trying to give you a little leeway here. But that's what we're going to do here on the Sports Philadelphia. We're going to tell it to you like it is. We're going to give you some really great perspective and hopefully have a lot of fun with y'all. Love to see some comments. Please subscribe to our channel. This is the very first inaugural YouTube podcast video. So you can say that you were here when it all started, before we got picked up by the big guns. All right, so signing out. And by the way, you might notice my name down there, the Grand Schwalbini. If you don't know, that is because I am a master predictor. In the first round of the playoffs, I went 6-0, predicted the Packers upset of the Cowboys. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So, the Grand Schwalbini always knows. And I have a keen eye on what's going to happen in the future. Over and out. Let's go, Birds.